Hello, everybody. Glad to see you back here at Silver Tears Tarot. And of course, a warm welcome to those of you who are new. We're going to look into a question that came into my inbox. Anymore, I feel like that's how I'm opening all of my readings. But you guys keep sending me questions, and sometimes I'm able to answer them in a general reading, almost word for word, the way you ask them. And other times I get the question from multiple people, and so I kind of have to figure out how to generalize the question. So this is one of those, and it's really it's one of the latter. So this is the gist of it is going to be what is causing your person to behave the way that they are, what is causing your person to specifically to treat you the way that they are, the way that they have been. A lot of you are in separation. A lot of you have been with me for a while, and we've been kind of watching the energy flow. We're going to do that a little bit more again today, but we're specifically going to ask the question about what is causing your person to treat you the way that they are and to behave the way that they are. So, as always, it's a general reading. It's not going to resonate with everybody. Shouldn't resonate with everyone. This is going to be for this collective, and so if it's your story, and that means maybe you're part of this collective, you may want to look back at some of the previous videos to see what other messages there are for you, and then maybe you would also want to subscribe. So if you're one of the people for whom this reading resonates. So we're going to go ahead and get started by looking at what is happening between the two of you energetically. So this is kind of like that energetic backdrop, but we're just going to kind of get in there and see what it looks like today. Energetic backdrop for what's flowing between the two of you. And that's going to be more in the spiritual side. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of you are already in the separation phase. So people are in different points along the timeline, but many of you are in separation or have recently just kind of come back together with your person. We've got the Five of Wands. Five of Wands is a card of conflict, but it's also a card of great possibility. So it is, you've got this struggle that can be happening, that tends to be happening, but it's also a lot of energy being put into it. And so the cool thing about this struggle is that you can turn everybody's efforts the same direction, and all of a sudden you have a lot of energy going in this other direction, in the same direction. So that's a lot of potential, but at first it just kind of starts out by looking like an awful lot of a lot of energy that's kind of going off in different places and not necessarily being cooperative with with each other. So let's look at the rest of this, though, see what else wants to come out, because the amount of struggle versus the amount of alignment that's happening may start to show up for us here. So we've got the Page of Swords in reverse that has come out. This is a lack of communication, but it is very much sitting on the edge of that communication. With the Page of Wands here, there is this tendency to kind of shrink away. This is hiding. This is not quite running, but certainly being quiet. Now, if these were knights, I would say and they felt like this, then I would say that feels more like running away. But this feels more like just hiding and sheltering, keeping to themselves. There's a little bit of that element that may be in you as well, although there's a frustration that's in there. Has to do with energy not moving. And so there are a few of you who would really like to reach out to your person, and would really like to engender that conversation that's being so elusive right now. It's hard to have a conversation with your person because they're not being receptive to it. There is the sense of energy not happening, not changing around you. So whereas there may be that impetus of change that wants to come from within one or both of you, there's not any real help coming kind of from the universe to blow you in that farther in that direction. There is, however, that understanding that there's this bond between the two of you. And, we've looked into the nature of it. We've looked into whether your person is aware of it. We see that they are aware of it. We also see that there's a lot of frustration around it, and it's very difficult for them to open this door. So that's a concept that we've been talking about in these readings for some time now. The fact that the World card comes out is really significant, though, because it's got this feeling of, I did a reading for someone not too long ago, and the words that came out of my mouth were got in on the ground floor. And it's that same sort of feeling where the bond between the two of you, even though things aren't necessarily flowing right now and this door isn't opening right now, the bond is still very much there, and it feels like a source of confidence. But for your person, and maybe even for you, it feels like a strange source of confidence, not necessarily one that makes a lot of sense because of all the distance that you have between the two of you. This is a card that keeps coming out, and it has to do with feeling like you can't move forward, feeling like you don't have the capacity to manifest what it is that you'd truly love to manifest. And so there may be some blockages in that ability to manifest right now, but this feels like a perception to me, and it has felt like a perception several of the times that it's come out. But the thing is, if you don't believe you can, it's also not especially something that's going to happen. So, um, here, this is all that wants to come out. But let's talk about them. I guess let's talk about them in the order they did come out. Sometimes they all come out and at the same time, and I can feel all the messages, and I'm like, well, what's the best order to put this in to kind of explain it? Because it makes a lot of sense. When you look at the energy that is already flowing between the two of you, some of that frustration, some of that confidence, knowing that this bond is it's here to stay, even if you are not necessarily in communication right now, even if things are not going with you right now. And so there's more than one thing going on, because you've got this fear, this perception that you can't manifest, this perception that you can't open this door because of the lack of energy that's coming your way. But really, it's the energy is being quiet right now, partially to give you an opportunity to deal with what this devil card represents. So that is the aspect of this relationship, or of something related to this relationship, that is holding control over both of you. It may not be the same thing, and I think in most cases it isn't the same thing. One of you may be doing some overthinking, one of you may be utilizing drugs or alcohol to kind of numb things. There's a sense of that. Some people are turning to jumping into work, and that's where they're spending all their effort and their time. And yet there's this backdrop of the work that you guys have been doing that helps to bring you together in trust, because as the trust builds individually within yourselves, it's also building as potential between the two of you. So that is what is in the current energy between the two of you right now. I wonder, because our next question, we're going to ask what's causing your person to treat you this way, and we're going to see what comes out. But there's a lot of emotion that feels like that star card feels inevitable, but also feels like there's such a delay with bringing things forward. It makes things really challenging. We may want to, when we go into the extended, look a little bit more deeply into that and some of the interplay between your energy. But before we go into that, we're going to look into what is causing your person to treat you this way. So this is the question of the day. What is it that's causing them to behave in the way that they're behaving and to treat you in the way that they've been treating you? In a lot of cases, there's been a lot of silent treatment. Okay, well, this is very believable, and it's a very consistent message. So that message that we've been seeing come out, this is that Ace of Swords. It comes out in every reading. We've got 78 cards. We don't pull all 78, but this is definitely one that likes to come out. Sometimes it's coming out in the upright to say, here's what's causing your person not to behave the way that they're behaving. Other times it's coming out to say, here's what they're not dealing with, and sometimes it's for your person. Sometimes it's over the whole situation and it's both of you, but there's truth that has arisen here as a result of the two of you coming together that has been a little bit difficult for definitely them, possibly both of you, to truly internalize and get your minds around. So there's been a lot of healing that's come from this. You've both triggered one another, and bouncing back from it and actually looking at the truths, it becomes very challenging. And so this is not something that necessarily impacts only them, but this is what we're looking at right now is why they're behaving the way that they're behaving. And so those truths coming out and them working to assimilate them, and in some cases failing to or having a hard time doing so, that's part of it. So we've got the Five of Coins. It has essentially shown them everything that they feel like is wrong. So everything inside of them that's never been resolved basically has all been triggered at the same time. And you may be feeling something very similar to that. This is that feeling that I felt like I was getting over here with the running and hiding. This is just the hiding. Here's the running. This is kind of, they were provoked into flight by the way that this felt because they were not feeling open to the lessons. Page of Coins is the card of someone who's open to learning. Nine of Cups is a card of, in the reverse, is a card of somebody who hasn't yet figured out exactly what it is that they want. And Ten of Cups, boy, the gang's all here. The cards that just come out, and the only thing missing here is the Star card in reverse. But okay, so you know how the Nine and Ten of Cups, if you've been with me for a while, you've seen the Nine and Ten of Cups come out repeatedly, repeatedly, repeatedly in these readings. Not to mention, honestly, the Page of Coins has been coming out a lot. And that's about it being a learning experience and how open a person is to that learning experience. Your person was already going through something when they came across you and you had your soul recognition and things started to really kick off between you. So they were feeling a little bit more closed off to the learning than they might ordinarily be. But then add to it that there's a lot more for them to layers for them to get through. So the Nine of Cups talks about your wish fulfillment, your happiness, what it is that truly makes you happy. Ten of Cups is that card of kind of feeling like something's too good to be true, and you get in there, and sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. And what we were learning with some of these previous readings was that this lesson of discernment about what you do. First off, when you see something that's too good to be true, your person's response was to get a little bit scared and think about running pretty much immediately and not feeling open to lessons, and almost had this extra sense for knowing that lessons were going to be part of this. Now, I don't think that you've had the same response. You're a little bit more open overall, and yeah, I think both of you had to redefine what it was that truly makes you happy and what it is that truly is that wish fulfillment. But that's a little bit tough for your person who believes they have already gone down the road to find what they believed they wanted, and then to meet you, who seemed like you were too good to be true, spurring in them this desire to run, this fear of what they have to learn, and triggering for them everything that's ever been wrong. I mean, you could see how that might be a little bit challenging for somebody to work through. And so, all right. I mean, I guess we asked the question of what it is that caused your person to, what's causing them to behave the way that they are and to treat you this way. It's a lot. It's too hot to handle. There's that Knight of Wands feeling of just feeling like they have to get out. They got a situation that they've come into and they feel like they have no choice. They've gotten a little too close to it. So with the Queen of Swords here, that's a card of cutting things out. And in the reverse here, feels like a card of not cutting things out immediately and utilizing a little bit of this discernment. Maybe they were that using that budding level of discernment that they had to really check things out, and they realized, oh no, I've been wrong all along about what it is that I think I want. But it's not that easy. You can't just turn around and change everything when you've already made decisions to go towards something and to build a different type of life. And in a lot of cases, that's what these folks have done. So you've got people that in some cases are married with a family, have made a commitment that they can't easily get out of, and that's why they're feeling like there's no choice. And in some cases, there is no other relationship. It's not necessarily like that, but there's no choice. For some reason, there's this feeling of there being no choice, and this feeling of, and I waited too long to figure that out, and now I'm caught in kind of the orbit of this. And so there's a lot of pushing and pulling going on, really that realization of everything that's ever not been resolved, everything that's ever been left unresolved. There's a strong desire to make things right and find that balance. And that's something that we've been seeing in these readings. Um, but it's not necessarily especially easy to find. So this balance involves maybe them going back on what they thought it was that they wanted, maybe doing something that is questioning the conventionality of it, questioning whether they've truly been going in the right direction all this time. And when you've been going the wrong way down the highway, even for a couple of miles, it feels like this huge waste. Imagine what it feels like after years of having headed down your life path in a direction that you thought was the right way to go, only to find out that you've been building toward the wrong thing, prioritizing the wrong things, and that you still have some things back here that need to be solved. So that's flexing your empathy muscle a little bit to kind of feel like what your person is feeling. And I also wanted to let you know, so you guys know I have that conversation that's ongoing with this divine masculine. And I'm not trying to get this person to come on to this channel and talk to us, but he did say that he was going to let me say some things that he has been feeling, because he's been watching the reading. So this is somebody that's like in the position of your person, that divine masculine, who's been watching these readings and saying, okay, I can tell that this is true, but I can't act on literally any of it. And that's a really tough place to be. It's also a tough thing to talk about, tough thing to admit. And so it's been a gradual conversation. I've done a couple of readings that were specifically getting into messages from your person, partially to be the mouthpiece for this person because they were having a hard time getting in. And I don't know how many divine masculines there are that watch this channel. So that's part of what we want here, is to help give everybody what they need to move forward. So just keeping that in mind, I was reminded as I'm looking at this, because I feel like there's a lot here that not necessarily your person would want to tell you, and maybe even some things they don't necessarily even understand themselves. But when we look at what's causing them to work to treat you this way, it just makes me wonder how much of this is also going to be consistent with the messages that we hear from this divine masculine, which, totally no pressure. I'm sure you're watching, and we understand it may take a little while to write it down, but I think there are a lot of people that would like to hear it. So just putting that out there. I think when we go into the extended, though, we're going to go a little bit more into the emotional side of this. And like I said, with what's the energy that's happening between you, we'll take a little bit of that into account as well, to maybe understand if we can look a little bit more deeply into what's driving some of this behavior. So this is, I think, incredibly helpful, but we're going to go in a little bit deeper. Before we go into that, though, I'd like for us to look at one more thing, and that's what can you be focused on? Because it wouldn't really be, I wouldn't feel like it was a complete reading if we didn't get into what it is that you need to be doing. Because I think we've kind of always done that to a certain degree, but a lot of times it's been in those extendeds where stuff gets pretty good in the extendeds, especially some of the ones lately. But and I'm not saying that just because I want you to go see it, but and in fact, I will be doing one toward the end of the month. My thank you reading, I do a regular reading and then extended right on the tail end of that. So you'll have an opportunity to be there for an extended reading where we go a little bit deeper if you've never done that before. But getting into what else you can be focused on, it feels like that's part of what we really need to have in this communication. So we've got judgment, and it's about allowing yourself to take a look at the picture of everything that's transpired, everything that's gone down, and really just step back from it, like that King of Swords kind of feeling that we've seen in some of the previous readings. Just stepping back, taking a look at it, and taking it all into account and saying, all right, where does this put me? How do I feel about things? You may or may not feel great about things. I mean, there may be, it's difficult to say. We've got the Temperance card coming out, talking about that broader balance that, frankly, I was feeling it a little bit when I was bringing out the Hierophant and the Justice cards over here. The Temperance card is about that full life balance. It's not that day-to-day sort of balance where you can fool yourself into that. This is the kind of balance that is hard won, and you don't fool yourself into it. It's what you're looking for, but it's also what you're going to be able to recognize that you may not have, and it may be fleeting. It's one of those things that you come into balance, and sometimes a little bit can happen to kind of throw you back off balance. But you got to figure out the art of getting back on balance, or back on that tightrope. So we've got the Four of Wands. This is stability. This is like that tightrope becoming a sidewalk. I love that that came out right as I was talking about the tightrope, because that's how I feel like this card relates to this one. Temperance, it feels like staying on that tightrope, and the Four of Wands feels like that tightrope becoming a sidewalk, at least for a little while, making things easier for you so that you have a chance to get organized, because you're going to feel like you're not organized, but you're going to also get right with the fact that you're not. We've had this before where we've seen the Nine of Coins and it has come out as here's this emotional independence, and we are not always in that place. Sometimes you're being triggered, you're not in that place of emotional independence, but once again, it comes back to being able to establish that balance because you've gotten to a place where you really know yourself. That means understanding where you've made progress and where you haven't made progress. So if you've got places that you haven't made progress, rather than just not worrying about them and kind of putting them in the back burner, if they are places where you need to build progress, it's something that you're going to be able to do is you're going to feel solid enough to make a plan. So yes, I have some places that I need to fix. Yes, there are some places where I need to make progress that maybe I've just sort of been ignoring. This is going to be the sort of energy that allows you to make a plan. So that's what you can be doing, is engendering that sort of energy. Getting into a place where you're okay with judging or looking at your experience and making your decisions around it. Judgment is such a loaded word, but it's not necessarily a bad word when you're looking at the big picture to say, okay, how do I want to nudge things? What do I want to do from here? Some of you are evaluating some pretty big decisions, such as trying to decide if you're going to reach out to somebody. Some of you may have done so recently. And there may be a sense of, I don't know now that I've done it if I'm ready, or I don't know as I'm considering it if I'm really ready. And that's major arcana, Empress in reverse, not knowing if you're ready. The thing is, though, it's not necessarily definite. There's not necessarily a need. So you don't have to reach out to this person, but you also can do it anytime you want. In a way, I mean, some of you are blocked and not in a position where you can actively even reach out to your person. um, that's a little bit different. That feels a little bit different. And in that case, your person is so not ready, and not receptive, that this almost can't apply. The piece where you're evaluating your own readiness, they are, and we've seen that over there evaluating their own readiness. But if they haven't pulled that block off, they're not ready to go yet. Now you do have I guess the word that I want to use for this one is integrity. We've got the King of Cups, we've got the Eight of Cups. Both of them are coming out to talk about integrity and slowly moving towards something that has you very passionate and impressed. And so that's where the Four of Cups in reverse comes in. And so this is not necessarily energy that involves your person. This is more moving off in the direction of that thing that's going to ignite you, the thing that's going to fire you up and help you to move a little bit of your energy off into a different direction. And remember, we did some readings about this before. It was coming up constantly, so we dug into it a little bit more deeply. And what we discovered was this is going to be something that maybe you've already been using to soothe yourself. And the example I liked to use was, maybe you've been writing to soothe yourself, and maybe here's an opportunity to jump in and write a book. So it's not necessarily taking energy away from your situation completely. It may be simply redirecting a bit of it, but something that you feel a lot of passion about and that you're very attracted to. This is a card, when it's in the reverse, of attraction. The Eight of Cups is about going for that Nine of Cups, going for that thing that you truly want, but you're going to have to really get to a place where you are able to decide and define what that Nine of Cups is going to be. And then you walk there head held high with integrity. And that's what that King of Cups is bringing you. Seems like we want to bring out at least one more card for this. I never know how many more cards that I want, but I know when it's time to stop. Okay, so we have the Queen of Coins and we have the Judgment card, and we're going to look at both of those. All right, so with the Queen of Coins, this is a card of fear and it's lack of self-worth, but this is really special because it's coming out for you where you have already done so much work in the area of determining and defining your self-worth that this is more like a nuance. It's going in deeper to see what else can be done to really develop that self-worth. Whether, and in some cases, some of you are looking to reach out to your person and you're looking for some sign that you should reach out to them. And definitely you have the option to do so, but you also need to look at it and say, is this going to impact my self-worth in a way that I'm possibly not ready for? I mean, just something to think about. And here's the judgment card to play, almost like bookends to the judgment card here on top, saying you are going to be observing every aspect of this as you're going through your path and you're going through this process. You want to be evaluating every element of it, every step along the way, because it's going to help you. It's going to help you to make more solid decisions and better steps. And so that's a lot of judgment, taking that internal temperature and really just letting the truth be, because it's difficult. This Ace of Swords feeling is a little bit difficult for both of you. So I'm going to go ahead and stop here. But like I said, when we go into the extended, we are going to look a little bit more deeply into kind of the emotion that your person is experiencing here. And then what's causing your person to treat you this way. We'll dig in a little bit deeper with that as well. And we'll look into that bridge question for you, which is kind of a little bit deeper on what you can be focused on. But it's basically like what's on that bridge between where you are right now and where you need to go. So that's what we're going to look at. Hopefully we'll see you there. The Vimeo link should be down below, and I look forward to seeing you there or in another reading.